Hello everyone, warm welcome to Regulatory Bodies YouTube channel by Testbook. My name is Madhav Sir. I welcome you all in the next session, which we call it as Finance Current Affairs. So before we start with the discussion, may I have a reply in the comment section that I'm audible, visible, everything is fine, we are good to go, so that we can begin the discussion without any further delay. So today in this session, we will be discussing the Finance Current Affairs for 18th and 19th of September. Obviously, many important news will be covered, and today's focus is going to be around a news which is related to RBI, where RBI has come up with certain updates. So we will be discussing that particular news itself. Before we move ahead, I hope you all are very well aware. Today we have one more session at 7 p.m. and that session is going to be bit lengthy. That session will be of around 3 hours or maybe more than 3 hours, and that session is going to be really very helpful for you guys because we will be revising the finance current affairs for July as well as August. So that is a must watch session. So what I have done in that particular session is I will be coming up with a question description question format. What I'm trying to say in the next class at 7 p.m. First of all, I'll show you a question. We will try to answer it. If you're able to answer it, it's okay. If not, don't worry. Then I'll give you the entire summary of that particular news to which that question is related, and then we will solve one more question based on the same news. So this will give you a holistic coverage. First attempt will help you to understand how much you can recall. Second data will help you to recollect the content again, and third will be a quick revision for the same point. I hope it is a good format. We are going to enjoy it. Till now I have created around 84 questions and I believe 164 questions, and I believe कि शाम तक ये question का count from till your class will be around 200 plus 210 20 के आसपास पहुंच जाएगा, and I'm pretty sure you are going to enjoy it. So if you want to cover this, do join this session at 7 p.m. live and try to watch this session live only, क्योंकि जब ये session आप recorded form में देखेंगे you won't be able to give your 100% because ये जो first question होगा हर न्यूज का that is going to be a challenge for you and second question is going to be a revision for you. तो हर एक न्यूज से रिलेटेड 2 क्वेश्चंस आपसे पूछे जाएंगे. ठीक है, तो ये मैंने सोचा है. अगर आप चाहते हैं इसमें कुछ चेंजेस हो तो आप कमेंट सेक्शन में मुझे बता सकते हैं. इफ I think that in the given timelines I can do that, I can make those changes as well. लेकिन पहली लुक में मुझे यही समझ आया कि पहले मैं आपको एक क्वेश्चन दिखाता हूँ. I help you to recall your data if you can, it's okay. Otherwise I'll give you a quick overview of the news and then we will solve one more question which will be a quick revision of the same. ठीक है जी, क्लियर होगी कहानी. चलो स्टार्ट करते हैं आज के सेशन को. सबसे पहले लास्ट क्लास में if you remember we have talked about payment aggregator. So on the same topic of payment aggregator where we have discussed the master direction given by RBI for payment aggregator, I have 5 questions for you which we will be solving quickly, and today's session is going to be very short because I want yours as well as my energy to be stored for the 7 p.m. session. ठीक है? So the first question, which one of the following statement regarding the RBI master direction on payment aggregators is incorrect? You have to find out the incorrect statement. Non-bank payment aggregators, they must maintain a dedicated escrow account with the scheduled commercial bank and the core portion earns the interest. That is absolutely correct. And what is this core portion? So core portion is basically the lowest average deposit of past 26 fortnights. I hope you remember. Banks operating as payment aggregators, they require a separate RBI authorization since they are not regulated under, this is wrong. Convertible preference shares can be counted as equity, that is true. Payment aggregators handling cross-border transactions must maintain separate inward as well as outward collection account, that is true. All promoters, directors, key managerial personals of payment aggregator, they must meet the fit and proper criteria. So that is also correct. वैसे तो second option incorrect थी, so that was our answer. There was no need to read all the other options, but ठीक है, I wanted that you should read all the options, so the same has been done. Moving on to the next question. Which of the following statement regarding the authorization and net worth requirements for the payment aggregator is correct? Banks, they must obtain separate RBI authorization to operate as a payment aggregator? No, sir, this is not correct. Non-bank payment aggregators cannot include any preference share for the net worth calculation. Wrong. They can include the convertible preference shares into the calculation of the net worth. That is correct. Only non-convertible preference shares can be counted towards net worth. No, sir, they are not counted towards net worth. Convertible preference shares can be counted as equity for the net worth compliance. That is true. Non-bank payment aggregators, they can operate without RBI approval. No, sir, that is not allowed. So only one statement is correct out of the given one, that is the D option. Rest all the statements are incorrect. Agla question dekhna. Which of the following statement regarding the escrow account for non-bank payment aggregators is incorrect? Escrow account must be maintained with a scheduled commercial bank. That is true. Only the core portion of the escrow account will earn interest. That is true. Loan can be taken against the core portion of escrow funds. ये point important है. Escrow funds must segregate customer payments from the payment aggregators own funds. ये correct है. Merchant settlements and refund must follow पेमेंट एग्रीगेटर मर्चेंट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. सो दिस इज ऑल्सो करेक्ट. लेकिन आपने ये जो बात की है लोन की, दैट इज नॉट अलाउड. दैट मीन्स यू कैन नॉट बोरो द फंड्स अगेंस्ट दैट एस्क्रो अकाउंट, बिकॉज द एस्क्रो अकाउंट में जो आपका पैसा पड़ा है वो पैसा एक्चुअली आपका है ही नहीं. वो पैसा तो आपके सिर पे लाइबिलिटी है. यू हैव टू पे द पेमेंट to the involved authorities so that the liability can be paid out. So in that particular case, C statement is wrong. बाकी सारी statements जो है that are correct. ठीक है जी. अगला, which of the following statement about payment aggregator? CB means cross border. Payment aggregator cross border regulation is correct. Netting of inward and outward forex flows is allowed for convenience. No, sir, they are not allowed. You have to settle the inflows and outflows separately. Inward collection account and outward collection account can be commingled. Can be commingled. No, sir, that is not allowed. Transaction cap per payment aggregator cross border transaction is 25 lakhs. That is correct. Settlement in foreign currency is allowed for all merchant regardless of the onboarding type. For all the merchants, regardless of the point, that is in what manner or how their onboarding is done. So no, that is wrong. Settlement in foreign currency is allowed only and only for the directly onboarded exporters only. Indirect customers are not allowed. Simplified KYC for small merchants does not require PAN verification. Wrong, sir. PAN verification तो चाहिए ही चाहिए, उसके बिना तो allowed होगा नहीं. So only one statement is correct and that is C option. E option is incorrect. Niharika, you need PAN verification in case of small merchants. एक बार जाना PDF को दोबारा खोलना, वहां पे बहुत क्लियरली मेंशन है PAN verification. So it is very much important. ठीक है जी. Which of the following is not a fit proper requirement for promoters, directors or other individuals on the key managerial positions? No criminal conviction involving fraud or dishonesty. That is correct. It's not a fit. It's not fit. ठीक है. The next point is must be solvent and not declared bankrupt. Done. It is a fit definition. Cannot be barred by any financial regulator. That is true. Must have minimum 10 years of industry experience. Must have a record of financial integrity and sound reputation. That is correct. But ये जो D option है, that is not correct. Why the D option is not correct? What is the point over here? So if you talk about the D option and you try to understand the point, if we talk about the financial integrity, competence, sound reputation, that is true, but minimum experience is not mentioned in the RBI's master direction, which has been recently given. So D option is incorrect. Rest all the options are correct. Last question. Which statement regarding the security risk and operational rules for payment aggregator is incorrect? All the payment aggregators, they must ensure PCI DSS, PCI SSF compliance for the merchant infrastructure. This is correct statement. Annual cyber security audits must be conducted through ATM PIN can be used as one of the authentication factor for the online CNP transaction. So if you are making an online CNP transaction, that is card, not present transaction. In that case, ATM pin cannot become one of the method of authentication. That is wrong. Payment aggregator must store all payment data locally in India. That is true. Payment aggregator must implement grievance redressal mechanism and appoint a grievance redressal officer. That is correct. So if you talk about the incorrect statement, that is only one. So C option is correct. ठीक है जी, क्लियर हो गई बात, समझ आ गया। चलो अगले पॉइंट पे बढ़ते हैं। अगले पॉइंट पे बढ़ने से पहले मैं आपको एक न्यूज याद करवाना चाहूंगा। इफ यू रिमेंबर इन द मंथ ऑफ मे 2025, we have discussed about the framework which has been given by RBI, and the RBI has given this framework. Basically, this framework was given by RBI basically to set the rules and regulations under which RBI will revise its current circulars, master directions, as well as RBI will amend the current rules and regulations और RBI will come up with the new rules and regulations। तो उसके लिए RBI ने एक पूरे का पूरा चार्टर दिया था कि I will be following all these steps। उसमें एक पॉइंट ये भी था कि I will be coming up with a proposal, and that proposal will be a draft, and this draft will be available for bare minimum 21 days, bare minimum at least 21 days for public feedback, and after the public and stakeholders feedback, then RBI will check it up. If the feedback needs the structural change, तो पूरे के पूरे ड्राफ्ट को चेंज किया जाएगा, अदरवाइज द ड्राफ्ट विल बी presented as a final guideline including the basic feedbacks which have been given। अब इसी context में इसी लाइन पे एक और update आया which we will be discussing today। So what is this? Regulatory review mechanism and framework for regulation। So basically पहले जो हमने पढ़ा था that was framework for formulation of regulation by RBI, but this time we have regulatory review mechanism as well। So what is this? Reserve Bank of India, as we all know, it's the central bank of the country. It issues a variety of regulations, directions, guidelines, and notifications, obviously to govern banks, NBFCs, financial market payment system, and whatnot. Over the period of time, these regulations, they have grown in number, creating a need for systematic review and standardization। अब क्या हुआ कि सर RBI जैसे जैसे जो नीड ऑफ द आर थी, उस नीड ऑफ द आर को ध्यान में रखते हुए नए रूल्स, नए रेगुलेशंस बनाता गया। अब इन्हीं नए रूल्स, नए रेगुलेशंस को बनाने की वजह से इट हैज रिजल्टेड इन अ वेरी बल्की मास्टर डायरेक्शंस, वेरी बल्की रिव्यूज, रेगुलेशंस, अमेंडमेंट्स related to the RBI Act as well as the other acts for which RBI is responsible for the regulation of financial institutes। So in order to overcome these issues and in order to come up with a systematic and standard format, this initiative has been taken। So to strengthen the regulatory governance, RBI firstly has constituted a regulatory review cell which will be effective from 1st of October 2025, which will be responsible to conduct periodic review of all the regulations of RBI। So पहला एक organization बनाई गई है and the name of the organization is Regulatory Review Cell। This regulatory review cell will be effective. This regulatory review cell will be effective from 1st of October 2025, which will be responsible to conduct periodic reviews, of all the RBI regulations, Second is formed an advisory group on regulation. Second initiative taken by RBI is forming an advisory group on regulation. So it will be comprising of external experts from the banking, insurance, finance sector, which will come up with the industry feedback and expertise into the review process। तो एक है जो आपके ऑलरेडी रेगुलेशंस को periodically रिव्यू करेंगे, और दूसरा है एडवाइजरी ग्रुप ऑफ रेगुलेशन दैट विल बी शेयरिंग the industry feedback as well as the expertise into the review process। For this particular purpose, this has been introduced। So let's try to decode this। What is the objective of this regulatory review? So the objective of this regulatory review is to ensure regulations are current, relevant, and effective। So this is very important, to ensure that these regulations, they are current, relevant, as well as effective, Second is reduce repetition, redundancy, and remove outdated provisions. Incorporate stakeholders' feedback and global best practices. And lastly, improve the transparency and accountability in the regulatory process. So these are the four things which we need to remember, that why this initiative has been taken by RBI. So over the period of time, things have not been working well in terms of the management of the rules and regulations which have been expended by RBI as per the requirement of the hour. So in order to ensure that all the regulations, they are current, relevant and effective, reduce the redundancy, remove the outdated provisions, incorporate stakeholders' feedback, achieve the global best practices, and improve the transparency and accountability. Now, in this case, we have the first one, that is regulatory review cell. What is this regulatory review cell? Sir, under the regulatory review cell, we conduct comprehensive and systematic internal reviews, of all RBI regulations every 5 to 7 years. So what is this? So the regulatory review cell will have some of the mandated obligations. First one is you have to conduct comprehensive and systematic internal reviews of all the RBI regulations, and this will be done at a timeline of 5 to 7 years. Then prioritized phased reviews to cover all regulations issued under different acts. So you have to prioritize the phased review which have been issued under to cover all the regulations which have been issued under the different acts. Third is function. This regulatory review cell will function under the Department of Regulation. Key functions will include periodic review of regulations which are in force, evaluation of relevance as well as effectiveness based on experience, enforcement actions as well as industry feedback. The third point is identify the redundancies, conflicting provisions, and coordinating the advisory group on regulation for external inputs. So ये coordinate करेगा with the advisory group as well. Now, who is going to be the part of advisory group? If I talk about the advisory group, guys, this advisory group will encompass us. Please pay attention. It will have the chairman, and the chairman is none other than the Rana Ashutosh Kumar Singh. He is the managing director of SBI. Along with that, we have 5 more members who are, as you can see, they are renowned personalities with immense experience as well as sitting on pretty good positions in different financial institutions. So they are capable enough to come up with adequate review, with adequate feedback, which is very much important. So just remember the name of the chairperson. The name of the members is not important. Remember that. So this advisory group of regulations are independent external experts which will ensure industry perspective, can co-opt additional members for specific expertise if required. Tenure will be 3 years which can be renewable by 2 more years. So tenure जो है in members की 3 years है, but it can be increased by 2 more years, and after that they will be replaced. It will provide continuous feedback to RRC. What is this RRC? So that is regulatory review cell for regulatory improvements. अब अगला और सबसे important point है कि सर ये काम कैसे करेगा? How this entire story which you have just discussed is going to work. Let's try to understand. So RBI has issued the framework for the formation of regulation, and RBI is emphasizing on transparency, consultative as well as impact-based regulation making. So first point is regulation, direction, guidelines, notification, orders, policies, specification and standards which are issued under RBI's power, they all will be included under the term that is regulation. Many include, or it may include any other legal instrument RBI chooses to regulate in near future, that will also be included. So definition of regulation, applicable laws are RBI Act 1934, Banking Regulation Act 1949, Payment and Settlement System Act 2007, FEMA 1999, Government Security Act 2006, as well as Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2005. So these are the acts under which RBI comes up with rules, regulations, policies, which we collectively call them as regulation. So RBI adopts a consultative approach where RBI says that first RBI will publish a draft regulation, and this draft along with the statement of particulars on the official website of RBI will be presented. Then Content of the statement: enable provisions under law, objectives and impact analysis, references to the international best practices, implementation methodology and timelines. So all these will be included in that draft. Then shareholders, they will get minimum 21 days to provide their feedback. Then in response to the feedback, RBI will review and respond to the comments, publishes the final regulation with including the feedback if required, and discussion papers may be issued for complex or novel issues prior to drafting regulation significance. So that can also be done. What will be the impact analysis? So before finalizing the regulation, RBI performs impact assessment, including potential effect on banks, NBFCs, fintech market participants, systematic risk evaluation as well as economic operational feasibility. तो पहली चीज क्या सर, जो ऑलरेडी एग्जिस्टिंग रेगुलेशंस हैं उनको रिव्यू किया जाएगा at a regular span of 5 to 7 years, और जितनी भी irrelevant outdated regulations उन्हें हटा दिया जाएगा. लेकिन while taking the decisions, RRC will get advice from the advisory committee. RRC will get the advice from the advisory group of regulation. This is how the review will be done. But on one side we are talking about review, on the other side I'm talking about the new one. If RBI is coming up with a new regulation, what is the process? Sir, in the new regulation process, first of all, under these acts, RBI can come up with a regulation. First, RBI will come up with a draft. Then this draft will include provisions under which law the changes have been given by RBI, objective क्या है, references क्या है, implementation और timelines. फिर उसके बाद RBI 21 दिन का टाइम देगा आपके पब्लिक कमेंट्स के लिए. आफ्टर दोज कमेंट्स RBI will come up with a final paper, RBI will come up with the final guidelines. But before coming up with the final guidelines, RBI will go for impact analysis, which include potential effect on bank, systematic risk evaluation as well as economic and operational feasibility. अगला पॉइंट है amendment and review. So significant amendments, they follow the same consultation and impact analysis. Very important. ये तो था नए के लिए, but अगर कोई पुराना लॉ है उसी को अमेंड किया जा रहा है, then also the same process. RBI will come up with a draft, 21 days wait, then review, then impact analysis, and then final guideline will be introduced. So periodic review will consider original objective, experience from supervision and enforcement, court or tribunal decisions, global standards and changing environment, as well as redundancy, reduction and simplification. So these will be the reasons because of which, or these will be the reasons which are going to back your amendments, that why you are going to make the changes in the given law. RBI 2025 Master Direction on Payment Aggregator, it includes provisions like KYC, escrow, cross-border payments. Such directions will undergo systematic review by RRC in 5 to 7 years, because this is the latest, I would say, RBI regulation which we have studied. अब ये implement हुआ, this is the latest guideline, and these guidelines will be reviewed by RRC in the span of 5 to 7 years, and if required, the advice suggestion will be taken from AGR. Clear होगी बात, समझ आ गया? Non-applicability, please pay attention, very important. Certain regulations are excluded from this framework. First one, internal administrative or organizational matter, उसके लिए RBI को किसी से feedback लेने की जरूरत नहीं है. Procedural changes with no substantive impact. If you are making any kind of change which is only going to change the procedure, it's not going to have, I would say, a substantial impact, then there is no need to follow this process. Regulations which are targeting the specific entity, not the entire segment, then also there's no need to follow the given steps which we have just discussed. RBI may dispense with the framework if RBI may dispense with the framework. मतलब RBI हो सकता है कि इस framework को follow ना करे if there is an urgent action required, confidentiality or public interest override standard consultation, and immediate systematic risk mitigation. अब मान लो RBI ने सोचा कि इंडिया में demonetization की requirement है, तो उस केस में RBI will not come to you and ask your permission, because in this manner confidentiality of the particular news will be breached, and it will be there will be no benefit of RBI going with the demonetization. Then if I talk about the savings clause, regulation in force prior to the framework remain valid. So regulations in force prior to the framework, they will remain valid. Non-adherence to framework procedure does not invalidate एग्जिस्टिंग रेगुलेशन। तो जो रेगुलेशन चल रही है उन पे कोई इशू नहीं है, उन्होंने जो भी प्रोसेस फॉलो किया हो पहले, लेकिन अब जो भी नए चेंजेस होंगे, जो भी नई रेगुलेशंस आएंगी, दैट विल बी फॉलोइंग द गिवन मेथड एज वी हैव डिस्कस। ये सेम प्रोसेस मैं मई 2025 में भी आपके साथ डिस्कस कर चुका हूं। तो एड ऑन क्या हुआ? एड ऑन ये हुआ कि आरबीआई के रेगुलेशंस को, रूल्स को, अमेंडमेंट्स को रिव्यू किया जाएगा। एक सेल बनाया गया आरबीआई का विच विल बी ऑपरेटिंग अंडर द डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ रेगुलेशन, दैट इज रेगुलेशन रिव्यू सेल, which will review all the rules and regulations at a systematic, I would say, gap of 5 to 7 years. They will allowed to seek the advice from the external experts. We call them as advisory group of regulations. Along with that, there is a set framework, rules, which will be followed by RBI to come up with new framework or to come up with the amendments in the existing rules and regulations or policies or RBI norms. So this is the entire story for the day. तो ये पॉइंट आई होप इट इज करेक्ट, बट आपको बस ये याद रखना, दिस इज गोइंग टू बी इंप्लीमेंटेड फ्रॉम 1st of October 2025. सिग्निफिकेंस क्या है सर? आरबीआई विल इंश्योर डायनामिक, इफेक्टिव एंड ग्लोबल अलाइंड regulations. It will reduce regulatory redundancies. It will incorporate industry and stakeholders' feedback. It will strengthen the transparency, predictability, and legal robustness, and it will help India maintain international best practices. These are the benefits of this particular initiative which has been taken by RBI. Let's try to solve the question. Which of the following statement correctly describe regulatory review cell and advisory group of regulations set by RBI? First one, regulatory review cell will review all the regulations issued by RBI every 5 to 7 years. True. AGR comprises internal RBI officials only to provide feedback. No, sir. It includes external members. AGR has an initial tenure of 3 years, renewable for 2 more years. That is true. RRC is set up under the Department of Regulation, 1st October. True. AGR has the proven co-opt additional experts as needed. That is correct. So according to me, answer should be 1, 3, 4, 5. So B option is correct. Rest all the options are incorrect. Very good. Those who have given the correct answer, बहुत बढ़िया. चलो अगला question. Which of the following are true regarding the framework which was given in May? All regulations issued by RBI must undergo public consultation at least 21 days. That is true. Framework applies to internal administrative matters of RBI. No, sir, it do not applies to the internal matters of RBI. RBI may dispense with the framework if there is some urgent requirement. That is true. Impact analysis of the regulation is optional and not recommended. I would say no, sir, it is not optional. Rather, it is recommended and it will be done. Regulations issued before the framework remain valid, but future changes follow the framework process. That is true. So answer is going to be A option. 1, 3, 5 are correct. Rest all the options are incorrect. So that will be all from my side, guys, in this particular session. As I told you in the starting, today we have a short session because today at 7 p.m. we are going to cover July and August month finance current affairs, and this will include the finance current affairs. It will include the news from SEBI. It will include the news from RBI, as well as it will include the news from Ministry of Finance. So this session is a must-watch session. I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy the discussion. Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to share the link of the 7 p.m. session with your friends. Good luck. Bye-bye. Take care. See you at 7 p.m. Bye.